Hello everybody, Eric again. Like and subscribe. Here we go. Let's read about 5 points of a new architecture. 5 points of a new architecture. Thus, Kink points, done, architecture, novel, sometimes referred to as the 5 points of architecture, is a short essay written by the noted modernist architect Le Corbusier, drawing on his earlier design work and writing the manifesto attempts to elucidate the architectural possibilities of newly developed modern construction methods. It was first given as a lecture at Rosenhof-Sendling in 1927, and a revised text was published in the first volume of Corbusier's Oeuvre complete in 1929. By 1935, Corbusier had softened the views embodied in the 5 points, embracing elements of the vernacular in his work. Summary. The essay is composed of a list of 5 architectural elements or principles and a short discussion of each. Corbusier claims these in a way relate to aesthetic fantasies but concern architectural facts that imply an entirely new kind of building. The 5 points are the supports expressed on the ground floor as palati, roof gardens, free designing of the ground plan, a free plan, horizontal windows, the ribbon window, and the free design of the facade. Each element is related to the affordances of reinforced concrete structures. Point 1. Supports expressed as decorative columns made of reinforced concrete with individual foundations. Allows the elevation of the ground floor away from dampness. Replaced with a garden. Reinforced concrete construction creates a flat roof that demands systematic utilization for domestic purposes, i.e., a roof garden or terrace. Point 2. The garden in turn provides the structure constant temperature and humidity. Columns also provide flexibility for the interior layout. Point 3. Due to the absence of immovable load-bearing walls with the intermediate ceilings, floor slabs, columns delineate the edges of horizontal windows. Point 4. Such windows provide better interior illumination than tilted vertical windows. Finally, extending the floor like a balcony all around the building allows fenestration patterns that are unrelated to the interior partitioning or structure. Point 5. See curtain wall architecture. The essay closes by stating that standardized, industrially produced building elements will free the architect to concentrate on the skillful resolution of the architectural program. Back up. Villa Savoy. The Villa Savoy is arguably Le Corbusier's most significant contribution to modernist architecture and emphasizes all principles of his 5 points of modern architecture. Situated in Poussy, it was constructed from 1928 to 1931 and commissioned by Pierre and Eugenie Savoy, who granted Le Corbusier and his collaborator Pierre Jeanneret unrestricted freedom in its design. The palatis elevate the structure from the ground, allowing for automobiles to drive underneath through a sweeping enclosure corresponding to the turning radius of a car as it curves around the house to afford direct entrance. The placement of the columns are fundamentally practical, organized in a structurally efficient configuration. Some arrangements are deployed to create subdivisions within rooms, promoting free design of the ground plan. The horizontal ribbon windows are supported by toothpick palatis surrounding all sides of the facade, and their intentional positioning directs the viewer's gaze to the horizon, limiting visibility of the top and bottom of the landscape. We're also referencing an abstract from that upstairs, the diverse functionality and interior behind the facade. The roof terrace flows similarly from Madame Savoy's bedroom suite, constituting the culmination of the free plan and collapsing distinctions of interior and exterior space, while providing sweeping views of the pastoral vestige. The wide facade is open on all sides, with no definitive back or front, maximizing the site's hilltop location, so that distinct views are visible from any side, since Le Corbusier envisioned the residence as an escape from the preoccupations of urban life in Paris. The spatial properties of the free design, particularly the circulation of ramps and stairs that flow through the house, have been extensively examined as expressions of Le Corbusier's notion of the promenade architectural, essentially a scripted path of movement offering diversity and complexity of varying views, with some aspects intentionally aimed towards the exterior and others reflecting the interior of the space. Further, the spiral stairs and the multi-story ramps ascend in both concord and contrast of one another, as the tilted plane of the ramp connects various levels in an uninterrupted path, concluding outside at the curved solarium situated above the terrace. On the other hand, the stairs incrementally disrupt Le Corbusier's preferred direction of movement, contradicting the promenade. The house is plagued with mechanical and structural issues, as an impracticability resulted in handleability. The Savoy's complaints were well documented, but largely unaddressed, citing pervasive leaking and flooding throughout the site. Hate when the two words are hard to say. However, Le Corbusier did not formally recognize many of these functional defects, and the space continued to be afflicted with problems, with the extensive leakage eventually causing the owners to abandon habitation around 1939. Paradoxically, though the architect famously declared a house is machine for living in, French, en maison, ust, en machine, un habiteur, CF, machine aesthetic, the Belle Savoy became a controversially unlivable construction, apart from brief occupation by German and then American forces during World War II. It remained mostly unoccupied and in directly condition until an international preservation campaign was launched in the late 1950s upon learning of the structure's potential demolition. Le Corbusier utilized his global prominence to garner worldwide support from influential figures and institutions, including the Museum of Modern Art and Time magazine, eventually contributing to the successful campaign. In 2016, it was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, reinforcing its architectural notability and confirming that while it was an imperfect residence, it does serve as a showpiece for Le Corbusier's creative aesthetic, primarily as the physical embodiment of his manifesto, while also being the last project that personified all 5 tenets of the 5 points of architecture. Villa Cook. The Villa Cook, Mason Cook, is recognized as one of Le Corbusier's first projects that canonically demonstrated his 5 points of modern architecture. Located in Boulogne-sur-Seine, it was built in 1926 by Le Corbusier and Pierre Jeanneret, and commissioned by American journalist William Cook and his French wife Jeanne. Le Corbusier deemed the house as the true cubic house, French Le vrai maison cubique, as its constructional plan originated from a square, rendering its cubic form, while polities elevate the main building from the ground, allowing for a driveway leading to the enclosed garage. Correspondingly, the main entrance is also underneath the overall structure. The free design of the facade enables all perspectives of the building to be viewed concurrently and conceals any visible supporting structures. Strip siding windows surround the length of the exterior, and the roof garden embodies a natural progression of previous open floor plans. The house is divided into 4 quadrants, determined by a column grid, separating key living areas that are situated on the top floor and connect to the roof garden, the most easily accessible external area, while the downstairs bedrooms subvert the traditional vertical organization of a residence. Also clearly demonstrating the free plan, the vertical configuration was partially due to the constraint of an urban environment with limited external dimensions. It was logical to conceive of a stackable cube separated into 4 levels and bookended by an underside entrance and a large roof garden. The centerpiece of the residence is the roof terrace, spiritually enlarged to afford distinct views of the Bois de Boulogne parklands, serving as a refuge from its congested surroundings. Villa Cook's Promenade Architecturale is orchestrated with a lyric beginning, middle, and dramatic finale, consisting of the sweeping roof garden. However, the majority of the structure does not seek to integrate interior space and outdoor landscape, but rather more tightly obscures its spatial arrangements from all sides of the facade, as the ribbon windows and flat roof conceal the double-height living room. Additionally, as the focal central column divides interior phase into even numbers, the path of movement is less varied, resulting in a more logical hierarchy of motion that ascends through a tight and a continuous axis. Carpenter Center. The Carpenter Center for the Visual Arts at Harvard University was Le Corbusier's only project within the United States. Completed in 1963, it personified his earlier modernist works and one of the last physical embodiments of the 5 points of modern architecture, designed as a collaboration with Chilean architect Guillermo Gillian de la Fuente. It was conceived to be the amalgamation of arts, a site where architecture were coincide with visual arts and film. The polities of the building elevates the structure, and despite their breadth and depth, they produce a low, nearly buried space in the foreground of the building. The frontal facades generate attention across the walls, as the organization of construction appeared both systematic and ornate. The windows are no longer ribbon stripes, but large triple glazed panels that depict the studios and galleries inside, and with gardens at the top, 2 curved studios situated on both sides of the central main ramp. The free design of the plan is supported by the large polities, offering greater flexibility and utility, enabling open creative spaces as well as multiple arrangements to accommodate expositions or cinema screenings. The main promenade architectural is offered by the ramp running through the middle of the building, following a mostly external passage that surrounds both the front and back of the site. An internal promenade is demonstrated by another pathway, following the downward trajectory of the polities and then upwards through the stairs. Further, a delineated line of movement is facilitated by the central ramp, providing a gradual ascension that essentially links the interior spaces while offering passerby a glimpse into the studios and galleries. This was intentionally conceptualized by Le Corbusier, who envisioned the center serving as a primary pathway connecting the historic Harvard Yard to the more contemporary buildings across campus. Fundamentally, by combining his earlier architectural practices with revised elements from the 5 points, the Carpenter Center embodies the synthesis of Le Corbusier's previous concepts and newer compositions, resulting in a sophisticated configuration of device possibilities. Stop saying that, young man. Criticism. The conventions of the 5 points of architecture are not always practical. In application, after the completion of Belle Savoy, Le Corbusier began to stray from the principles articulated through his manifesto, preferring instead structures that were more harmonious with nature. The ideological departure was largely founded on the inclination towards more monocular architecture and the utilization of natural resources, promoting the importance of nature in all practices and determining that all forms should originate from nature. Eventually, this was a shift from the more pressed designs of 5 points, and Le Corbusier sought to recounsel his 5 classifications with greater flexibility, creating a fusion between mechanistic order and natural chaos. Certain principles of the 5 points prove incongruent to actual habitation, with designs not holistically considering everyday living. The physical deterioration of Villa Savoy was largely due to Le Corbusier's inattention to the needs of his clients, privatizing aesthetic ambitions over domestic consumption. Additionally, the expansive glass windows can cause overheating during warmer seasons and substantial heat loss in colder climates. Since they wrap around the entire structure, there is no reprieve from their harsh impacts. As a consequence of the extensive water leakage in the climate, weather complications required frequent repairs and became uninhabitable, yet it still served as a demonstration of the architect's visionary prowess. Legacy. Le Corbusier's influence is undeniable, and its 5 points of modern architecture have served as guidelines in many architectural infrastructures. Elements of the 5 points have been featured in numerous contemporary designs, reinforcing the lasting heritage of his original manifesto. The core ideas of the Westernization still serve as inspiration and foundation for many contemporary architects who incorporate Le Corbusier's framework into their projects. Corresponding architectural influences can be found in the works of prominent architects, such as Miles van der Rohe, particularly in the Farnsworth House, as well as the famed The Glass House by Philip Johnson. These much celebrated masterpieces have profoundly shaped modernist residential architecture, tracing Le Corbusier's enduring impact to the architectural landscape of the modern era. Bye for now!